Hi, Brooke. Do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for Cover Dish! Tuesday 7, baby! A little bit of a late start tonight, but we're starting off strong with that, very sensual, oh my gosh, that décolletage. Dare we say cleavage? Girl.
Girl, it's a push-up bra.
Dare we say?
We dare.
Mm. Do you remember the Wonder Bra? It's bringing us back to the Wonder Bra.
Oh, yes. Remember that?
I don't, because I think that was before our time, but...
I remember how sexy the ads were.
Yeah.
I was a kid, and I was like, I don't know why, but I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Gay confusion is what we like to call that.
I like your shirt. It's very on brand, and it's where my mom thinks all the gay people live.
She would be right. It's where I wish this gay person lived. But frankly, that's still in the dream column.
I love that. I love that for you. I love that for us.
I got this when I was laid over for almost a full day at the San Francisco airport on the way back from a vacation.
Where are you coming from? You were laid over in San Francisco.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was in San Francisco, and Monty's flight was a lot earlier than mine was. So, I'm a little biscuit with travel anxiety. So rather than, venture out on my own into the city, I just stayed there. I know. We're better now. This was weeks ago. No, this was 2019, and I really loved this hoodie. It's back in the James Charles crop hoodie craze.
Yes.
So it's also a crop hoodie, and I've got my Pride shirt underneath the Pride hoodie.
Wow, very gay today.
Double Pride.
I love that. Well, girl, how are you?
Girl, I am surviving. I'm a solid surviving today. I put on a little bit of color, but still comfy clothes because I wasn't feeling great.
I think that's wise.
I think that's wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what are we talking about tonight on Late Dish? Oh my God. We're talking about something. Actually, I'm just jumping. We're talking about something that Eileen knows everything about and I know nothing about. So this is actually going to be really focused on Eileen educating all of us.
No, I love that, but also, girl, before we get into that, I wanted to play a new game with you.
Ooh.
And the name of this game is What Did I Say? And so here's how the rule works, okay? I'm going to open up a dating app, and I'm going to pull up a real message that I received from a human being, okay? And then I want you to guess, high-level themes what I said.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready.
Now, before we start this, I do want to point out, I want to be very clear, viewers at home, that we are not making fun of men, okay? We are making fun of these men. That is what we're doing. That is the game, okay?
I'm ready.
So, all right. Young man. And by young, I mean 27, to be clear, okay? Because we're in our 30s, so we have time for extended conversations with people under 30. But sometimes I like to just peek in and see what's going on. You know what I mean?
Wow. I can't imagine talking to somebody with a 2 in front of their age. Or 2 in front of their age. Good for you. But you're younger, so that's probably...
I guess. Also, I'm desperately clinging on to the shade of my 20s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The specter in the attic.
Love in there.
So yeah, it's fun. So there was some conversation about, any fun plans for the weekend? And I said, what do you like to do to relax? And he says, I like watching a movie in bed or just lay in bed and listen to music. Would you ever want a full body massage? Feet and legs too? I can serve every need you have. Smiley face. What do you think I said?
Okay. I don't like to be touched by strangers.
Brooke, you have read my memoir. You've been paying attention. You have read my memoir. No, so you are going to laugh so hard because this is 100% me, but it's also if you know me, you can read between the lines with the discomfort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the response was, that's kind of you. I'm able to fulfill just about all of my needs, thank goodness. But in the realm of desires, I never was one to turn down a good back massage.
Oh my God.
And Brooke, let me tell you, In the interest of being our own therapist here, I sent that message. I put down my phone and I was like, I have some stuff to unpack. You know what I mean? Like, still with the amount of self awareness, the amount of like boundary setting skills that I have developed at this point in my life, still have difficulty just saying no, flat out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No response
Well,
was needed. Could have just unmatched. And also, it was like me trying to manage the situation, like management principles on this situation. Like, oh, how could we redirect this back to an appropriate context or dialogue? You know what I mean? It's like none of that was necessary, but it was funny.
oh my God, that's amazing. This is my favorite game.
Yeah, I think we might want to make it a regular segment.
I think we should. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk to marketing.
Yeah, we'll see if we can fit it into the vision board.
Yeah, marketing has not returned my calls.
No. Nor mine.
Marketing is this LaCroix can.
Yeah, nor mine. So actually, frankly, I'm not sure who they're talking to at this point because, yeah.
Rob, go for marketing.
I mean, the only person left is my LaCroix can.
Oh, yeah, and she's a beaver. She
Yeah,
doesn't return anybody's call.
No.
She was always out chain smoking, hanging out with her girlfriends, you know?
Mm-hmm. Very Sex in the City energy.
Yes, or Mrs. Packard from the Disney movie Atlantis.
Oh, God. I have not seen that movie in forever, so I did not get the reference, but...
She's the old lady who's always smoking cigarettes, who's on, like, the two-way radio.
Yeah.
I love her.
Mm-hmm.
Goals.
You know,
I mean,
I'm surprised... I'm also surprised I don't remember her because anytime you had a sort of, like, villain-ish, like, villain-adjacent woman who was a chain smoker in a Disney movie, like, I would just annoyingly recite their lines all the time as a child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, like the one line grandma from Anastasia who's auditioning for the role of Princess Anastasia. You remember that?
What's her line?
She comes in, she's dressed as like she has this sort of like old Hollywood Shirley Temple costume on with a big fur coat and a cigarette holder. And
Yes!
She throws off the fur coat and she says, "Grandma, it's me, Anastasia."
Yes, I do remember that.
It's so good.
So you were just like obscure women quarterly in terms of like who you were impersonating. Like never the main.
No, never. Never.
Or anything.
No. Yeah, that also continued throughout high school theater. I was always like I was never the main roles, I was always the character roles.
I was always too chubby for the ingenue role. But it was a real bummer because for the casting directors, because I had a great voice, and they're like, damn it, she can sing the ingenue role, but she's an 8. So
that's so wrong. That is so wrong.
I know. It actually got a lot better when I got older because, I don't know why, but I
glow up.
I think it was more just like I started fitting in. Like I feel like I was bigger than I should have been in high school in the average, and then like in college, people caught up to me, so then it didn't look as weird. I was just like a big boned lead, you know what I mean? And then I got out and I got into like real acting and like real singing. And then I was like, oh no, my body dysmorphia cannot survive this career. It's wild.
Listen, I hear you on that one because that was really, I mean, for transis, but also for body image issues, it's like, you know, don't have the face for it, definitely don't have the body for it. And it's just like, okay, if we're feeling that bad about ourselves, maybe this is not an industry that we want to deeply invest in, you know what I mean?
Or deeply attached to.
Oh, girl, I love you tethering us back to the subject matter at hand.
I'm always trying, girl.
I just so happen to have a book that I've been reading a lot of lately called Polysecure by Jessica Fern, and let me tell you, this is a great little survey course in attachment. It says it right on the cover. Attachment, trauma, and consensual non-monogamy. And it really is like the Venn diagram of all three of those things wrapped into one. And so here's the thing. This book, the real like value proposition of this book is that most of the research and the writings on attachment theory have been from a heteronormative frame of reference, right? Mm-hmm. Like marriages between one man and one woman kind of stuff. Not that like, yeah, I'm trying to be funny and not succeeding, but you know what I mean? It's like
No, I think that is funny.
the the assumption of I mean, the straights are very funny to us because we're so gay. But this book really tries to break it out to a like expansive understanding of queerness and of non-monogamous relationship frameworks.
Cool. So what have you learned about attachments?
Well, attachments are this like human need that we all have, and it starts out when we're kids. So our attachment figures when we're children are our parents. And so the ways that we think about and reach for attachments in our adult life are directly correspond to how available and the type of responses we got from our attachment figures as children. So like if our parents were generally available and they like recognized and took seriously and tried to fulfill our bids for attachment, then we generally have like a pretty secure understanding of like, hey, I don't feel like someone is going to leave me all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like fears of abandonment or one strategy that might happen is that you deactivate your need for attachment when you feel it coming on. So you are like, well, I don't need that. I'm just going to be super independent. I don't need to rely on anybody. I can fulfill my own needs. Like, you know, that's one strategy. And then the other one is to heighten your attachment bids and to, you know, it's like an overactivated need for attachment where you are more vocal about it and you need more like demonstrative things to feel like your attachment is secure with somebody. And so like, you know, the not so great news is that most of us did not have perfect relationships with our parents, right? And that's not our parents' fault. It's just parenting is hard. No one teaches you how to do it. And so, like, we're all going to therapy for some reason. That's a theme that we've said many times on this show.
100%.
So, yeah, like, I think it's just really helpful to understand how attachment, your need for attachment, because we all have it one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
How does it show up? How do you negotiate that with partners? And what's their attachment style? And how do you try to find some kind of middle ground where you are both understanding each other's strategies to get attachment and what makes you feel like you have security in your relationship? So it's a really complicated thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think I've heard that word, but I've actually not really heard it described in such a agnostic way, because I feel like I hear it in like relationship podcasts or whatever else. It's like that.
Oh, really? What have you heard?
Well, like, oh, like, I don't know, like attachment, you know, disorder or whatever, your attachments or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like people right now are just throwing around this word. So I think it's a good, like, reminder of what we're talking about and what we're not. Because we're all just trying to, like, unravel shit from our childhood. That's all we're all trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that's frustrating for me at, like, this point in my life where, like, you know, I'm not, like, whatever, not young, not old, right? Is kind of where I'm feeling at right now. And the funny thing is,
I'm not a girl.
Oh
yes,
my God,
I've heard that Britney Spears song.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, you
and
felt
now
it.
You have too.
You understand. But when I'm looking at the rest of the trying to think of a metaphor, the rest of the way to go. You know what I mean? What's left? I'm looking at what's left, and I'm like, we're gonna be dealing with this stuff the whole time, aren't we?
Mm.
You know, it's kind of a sobering realization. But yeah, I think it's good to keep in mind that everyone has a need for attachment. It's a psychologically neutral thing. It's not good or bad. And also, in order to like cultivate and maintain security with one person, imagine how difficult that is. And then it's like even more difficult to manage that in a group, with a group of people, multiple attachment figures. And you know what blew my mind the other day? I was reading the book, and she said, I was reading the book, and she said, you know, when you are in romantic relationships with people, especially when it's like new, at some point you have to ask yourself, do I want this person to be an attachment figure for me? And I was like, I just assumed that all relationships would be attachment figures. So now I'm thinking about, like, are they always attachment figures for me? And if not, then, like, what's the difference and how do you start that conversation?
Well, what about friends?
Yeah, I think friends can be attachment figures. I mean, close friends, right? I think
Yeah.
you're an attachment figure for me. Like if
Yeah.
something goes wrong in my life, I'm calling you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, absolutely. There's like, I call 3 people and you're one of the 3 people. You know what I mean?
I feel
like,
the same.
Yeah. So it's like, you know what I mean? But it's like, I wonder is it because our attachment styles are similar or are they complementary?
I don't know. I feel like they're similar.
Yeah, I think so too. And like, maybe that's what pulled us into our friendship.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I think so, I'm not bipolar, but I'm manic depressive, and so there's a lot of this going on in my psychological baseline, and I think I do 2 different things with attachments. There is a strategy I have where I need to feel super connective, and I'm going to be I need to feel very connected, and I'm going to be very expressive about it. It's like, I need to spend time with you. I'm not feeling great, like I'll talk about it a lot. And then there's another depressive mode that I have where I'll just like shut off from people.
Yeah.
And I know you've seen both of those from me. The difficulty with me is I don't like the self-awareness to know which phase of yourself you're in currently is really tough sometimes.
Yeah.
So the people who know me well, I think like you and Monty are both able of recognizing which version of me is in the room currently. But I'm not
Well, we're
always great
not
at that.
Sherlock fucking Holmes, girl. Like, I mean,
You can kind of tell is what you're saying.
I want to play video games for 10 hours, leave me the fuck alone. I'm
Right.
like, which one is it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Who is she?
And you give us too much credit. Yes, 100%. But I do think there's something where it's like, I think there's seasons, right? And like for you, living with you, cohabitating with someone is why I know that about you. Cohabitating with me is how you know how I recharge, right? Which is not how everyone recharges. Like my recharge and my ability to center is like directly tied to like me pulling together my basic needs of like food and shelter and things like that, where I'm like, I need to know the fridge is full. I need to know that food is made. I need to know that my bed is ready for me to sleep in tonight. Like real weird basic needs shit. And like, if I don't get to groceries on Sunday, I'm a fucking train wreck the rest of the week. I'm a train wreck. And like, it's just groceries. Yeah. And it comes out great, but like, you know that about me because we live together. And I know that after 2 straight days of burlesque shows, up till 4 a.m, you will be disappearing the next day.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because of the energy and you know what I mean? And like that cycle. So yeah. I don't need to know. And if I am going to be like, hey, I have this social commitment, I want you to join me as your friend, I'll be like, it's this long, it's really short, or it's not a lot of people, or something where I know your bandwidth is already limited. And I'm like, can you make this compromise and help me out?
Yeah. And I think that's a really good case study because you and I both have pretty good, I'd say we both have pretty good conflict resolution skills where we're able to step outside of our feelings and say like, hey, I'm feeling like maybe there was a misstep here and let's just talk about it, Where it's like, hey, you were in like burnout cocooning mode, but also like we talked about vacuuming and like you said you were going to clean this weekend and now, like making sure basic things are taken care of is what's really important for my sense of equilibrium. So when that doesn't happen, you know what I mean? So it's like, how do we figure that out?
Yeah. And I think, it's so funny you say we're good at tough conversations because I'm going to like challenge you. I really wasn't then. And
I don't think I was either.
Well, I think kind of baby birds because speaking of attachment styles, because like growing up, conflict was so taboo.
Yeah.
And it was still there, but it was like very buried. You know what I mean? And it's just like so funny. Like even now, my mom shared some like family news with me, which I obviously won't say on here, but like she's just like, huh, can you believe it? Well, there's that one side of the story, and we'll just leave it there. And there's a villain and a hero. I'm like, that's not how people work. That's one side of the story. But so thanks for sharing that like perpetual narrative. Of course, in the story, the woman is the villain and the man is the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, here we fucking go again. Like, no one wants to wade into the messy.
Yeah.
Of like what it actually could be.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I'm like, I think that was why it was so great. It's like, I don't know. It's interesting because I know a fair amount of people who are our age and have never cohabitated. And I don't even mean romantic. I just think it's really important to share space with someone. Like, what does it look like to share space with someone? You just learn so much about yourself. So much is reflected. Like it's just a constant mirror. And I think it can be really effective, even not romantic.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you're right that like certainly we're much more practiced at it now. I remember the first time I lived off campus was with a couple friends. I like really, really good friends, right? These were not strangers. But I didn't speak to one of my roommates for 6 months because we had an argument about dishes.
Oh, dishes break up marriages, though. Keep going. I'm listening.
Yeah, no.
I'm not downplaying the dishes.
No, it was so stupid. It started out because she would leave her napkin out, like cloth napkin out, like in the living room. She was like, "Well, then I always know where it is." And I was like, "Yeah, but it just bothers me that there's this like used napkin always out. You know what I mean? It's like put it away, take it out. You know what I mean?" And then we got in this whole thing about the dishes, and it was like how often people are washing them, and it just got really petty really quick. Like, I feel like you're not washing my dishes on purpose.
Yes! I love that! Working around your dish.
Yes, it was so bad. There was no functional whatsoever. We were 19, and then we, like, stopped talking to each other for 6 months. It was so bad.
While living together.
While living together, yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So, I mean, sometimes just look back and notice how much you've grown. Oh.
So I lived with a roommate, and she was blind. Actually blind.
Fully?
No. Partially.
Okay.
But my love language is when you throw shit out in the bathroom, it lands in the garbage can. That is my love language, just for the record, in case anyone's looking to know. And it was hilarious because we had dark kitchen countertops and light bathroom floors. Hear me out.
Okay.
Every morning on the kitchen countertop, I would be making my eggs and I'd touch the counter and there was coffee grounds. Every morning, there were coffee grounds on the counter. And then I'd go into the bathroom and I'd be like, why the fuck are there 5 Q-tips next to the bathroom garbage? Adjacent.
Yep.
And I had to have a conversation with a new roommate, and we had never lived together, and we weren't roommates the way, like, roommates. We were like roommates. So we were just roommates. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm like partially blind from having a stroke and blah, 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 and all this shit. And I was like, oh, so dark background, coffee grounds. Light background, Q-tips. Now I feel like she knew the Q-tips didn't go in. But I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to release my burden of whatever. Look at me, I'm so good at this. You know what I mean? It was like this whole thing of like, I knew she was partially blind when we moved in together, but I didn't know how it would manifest. And one of the ways it did is like color on color, right? The same color on the same color would just kind of blend together.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, girl, this is not meant to be literal, but because you are telling a story about blindness, it's going to seem like it is, but it's not. We all have blind spots. We do. In this case, literal, but like there could be other explanations, right? I'm sure my roommate was not deliberately not washing my dish.
No, I think she was.
She may have been, but we've moved past that. And you know, with attachments, if your attachment style is different than someone else's, I feel like you're gonna frequently stumble across and have to re-talk about, like, you're gonna have to revisit. That's what I meant to say. You're gonna have to revisit this topic more times than you want to, right?
Like a reprise in a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical that won't die.
Wow. Did not expect you to take it to musical theater, but I love that. Take it back to musical theater. Mm-hmm.
Always.
And that's the way it goes. Fan kicks, fan kicks. Pas de bourrée. Prepare, pirouette.
Fosse, Fosse, Fosse. Martha Graham, Martha Graham.
Yeah.
So,
And then she flew right out of that theater and she was never heard from again.
So, what is one thing to leave our viewers with on attachment that you'd want them to know?
Just, you know, like try to dig deep and find that patience and track progress. Track incremental progress. Because you can tell if things are moving in a good direction or if they're not moving in a good direction, right?
100%. 100%.
You are also hearing from the woman who gives people 10,000 chances. So watch out for that one, you know?
But we have self-awareness.
I do. Well, she's growing. She's growing and learning and changing right before your very eyes. I got to work on the response game, but I'm learning. And I think if you could just track a little bit of positive progress, then it's like maybe it's worth hanging on to a little longer, you know?
I love that.
Don't let it go too easy.
I love that reminder.
Mm-hmm. What about you, girl? Parting thoughts?
Yes, obviously self-reflect and take a minute to celebrate the progress you've made. And then if you haven't, celebrate that you're still here.
just alive?
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Some days it's not, you know what I mean? Some days it's not going to be it, you know? And I think that's why the self-reflection is so key, because this is a macro game, not a micro game. And I think sometimes we can focus so much on the places we've failed that we forget about those moments where it's like, hey, sometimes, you know, success looks just like we're not moving, but it's actually we're preventing ourselves from moving backwards.
Yeah. Hey, when the bar is on the floor, you can step over it and be delightfully surprised.
Oh, I love that. I always, you know what I mean? Whenever we were at like some limbo contest when I was a little girl.
Oh, yeah.
They'd always have it up really high, and that's when I would do it. And then they'd be like, oh, we're going to lower it. And I'm like, that's fine for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, you start out
at a very young age.
Yeah. Well, also, like, I mean, you know, I'm not winning any limbo games because I'm tall and my back hurts. But at the very beginning of the game, you can do one of these. You can just kind of just go under it. And then when they start lowering the bar, you can just be like, that's it. That's all I needed to do. I don't need to win the limbo game.
Act like a chubby Brooke Cardis. Little baby chubby sausage leg Brooke. Oh. It's cute.
Oh, sweet angel.
She was a hot mess. She still is, girl.
But look at us now. Don't look too closely. Maybe peek. Maybe peek through your fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, girl, I love you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Ladies.
Ladies, see you next time. Bye.
Bye, y'all.